holy innocence of creation. When you are accepting the holy creation that is within your natural state, you are also accepting it for all creation. If you are not ready to accept it for all humanity, then you will not actually be able to receive it for yourself. The holy union of oneness is dependent on each beloved's recognition in their journey of remembering that there is no one that has ever walked in this third dimension that has not been the holy innocence of God. That it has been completely forgotten is what is held by most. But to forget the truth is not to change the truth. The truth is still completely actualized and has never changed. From the beginning of time, which is the beginning of the belief of separation, every effort has been made to forget the truth of all creation. Almost immediately within the first second of the belief of separation, there was effort to prove the other guilty, to prove that there is something outside to blame. Within this belief of blaming and finding guilt outside, it became the standard, the core of the belief system of separation itself. The fear of guilt, the fear of judgment was then necessary by the mind of separation to project the blame, the guilt, the cause outside. And projection became the standard that was used and is used to prove that the world is a dangerous, horrible place, and that is where the pain and the problem come from. Everyone basically walks in the belief that the world is dangerous, and that unless you vet someone, others are not to be trusted. To be cautious is an unconscious agreement. And even to be suspicious is an unconscious agreement. This is where all the healing, all the remembering has to be focused, because as long as beloveds are willing to believe that the problem is outside, healing is unavailable. But make no mistake, healing is never about blame, whether it's self-blame or blame of others. Neither has any validity. to recognize a mistake in perception and to surrender all of the ideas of right and wrong and good and bad and sin, all of it surrendered, let go, because none of it has any truth or value. The game of blame, the game of condemnation and judgment is a very tempting occupation. And it can occupy a life almost completely. Fear is the mechanism for all the blame and all the suspicions. And fear is a fabrication of a false identity that was produced in order to, in a way, keep everyone in line and say no to God. Because the ultimate fear is the fear of God. The fear of returning, the fear of judgment that is projected onto God. Produces fear just as the belief of the world being dangerous produces fear. But fear has no purpose other than to stay asleep, to stay in the ignorance of the belief of separation. It works well because fear is so fearful. And it is given value as to its strength. In truth, fear has no strength except the strength that each beloved gives it through the allegiance to it. Most beloveds believe that fear has purpose, that it has a necessary purpose. It's even used in the language about God, that it's righteous to fear God. And in that, it would make it very easy then to fear others. One of the greatest fears that's used as a defense is the fear of opening your heart, the fear of embracing and recognizing your own divinity, your purity, your light. The fear of love is dominant within the world. Believing that love is hurtful, painful, and always disappoints. But none of that is the truth of love. And none of that is actually coming from the reality of love, but a reasonable facsimile that has been made in the world to mimic love, but is actually run by fear. The truth of love sees no enemies, sees no difficulties, recognizes that there are no problems, and that there is no death, only eternal love and life. So the journey of remembering is a journey of coming back home into the heart, to meet the heart within, the sacred heart that is one with all creation, to meet the truth of God within, and to rest in that love. And in that resting, the learning of offering love, of expanding and extending love into all humanity, returning to the holy union of love that is all creation. It is not meant to be difficult. Healing is not meant to be difficult at all. The mind conjures up confusion, complexity, resistance, but truthfully, the return home is by its very nature, without resistance, a journey of peace and gentleness and learning loving kindness for your own being and for the being of all creation. It is returning home. It is the truth of your being. It may seem unfamiliar, but the journey itself is about becoming familiar and leaving the fear behind, letting it disappear. Because without the power that you give fear, fear has no power. It can be rejected, and actually must be rejected as having no worth, no purpose, no reality. In the holy union of love, it is to return home to the remembering that heaven is right here, right now. And heaven is in the union of one heart. It's where all the love exists, in the recognition of oneness, of returning to holy union with all creation. It is not asked of you to figure out in any way how to get there, or how that would be possible to come back into that union. It isn't done with the mind that made separation. It is in the surrender into the hands of God and allowing the transformation to occur, to accept the transformation of love, to accept the miracles of healing. Just showing up, just having the yes in your heart and resting in the confidence that the power of God can heal anything and everything that is the illusion. There is nothing that the power of love cannot heal. Transformation is easy and simple to the power of the universe. And your life can be led and lived within that power because it's your natural state. What will you lose in your surrender? Nothing. Nothing that had any meaning or any value to begin with. Only the illusion will disappear. And the reality of love will bloom in your awareness. The easy journey. It isn't meant to be difficult. And it doesn't need to be difficult. Resistance is painful. So love keeps asking you to let go of any resistance and trust in the power of love. In this moment, as in every moment, all love is here. And in every moment, in the now, is the infinity of divine union. The infinite circle of love is here. And it is patiently waiting for your yes, your leap of faith to accept that infinite circle of love, where all of humanity, all of every being that has ever believed in separation returns to the oneness through your divine intention and the power of your yes. The universe is all love. Nothing else exists. And as such, this sanctuary is filled with love because there is nothing else that is reality. In the truth of reality, there is only one presence, and it is the life force of God, the life force of the universe itself. And everyone lives and breathes and moves within that life force in the acceptance that you are the light of God. It isn't that that life force of God is not available to everyone, but most are saying no. Most are saying no because there is of course, the deep belief in the illusion of being separate and being a separate identity. But in any moment, every beloved can remember. And the power of your yes serves that remembering for all humanity. The happy journey, the journey without distance to a place that you never left. Every beloved in awakening recognizes one central core awareness, which is, oh, there was nothing to do. Nothing to do except say yes and allow the divine to be the holy teacher that brings the teachers, that brings the grace, that brings the blessings, that brings reality to your awareness. Your prayers are the power that reunite your awareness to the truth of God. So in this moment, the power of love is permeating into every heart, every mind, as the willing yes is expressed. In the journey of healing, there is a never-ending supply of help. Everywhere you turn, there is help. There is help from unseen beings, and there is help from beings that are still in form. And there are teachings that will hold you in the nourishment of the deeper truth. But everywhere there is help. You're never with the help available to change your direction, change your mind, open your heart, and learn of the truth of oneness. This prayer is a calling by the divine being that is known as the Divine Mother. The Divine Mother brings nourishment, brings comfort, and gently brings the unraveling of the belief of pain and sorrow. Beloveds have seen and experienced apparitions of the Blessed Mother all over the earth. These have a particular purpose of encouragement and hope and reinforcing the faith of realizing that there is a Divine Mother that holds everyone. Everyone is held with no judgment. There is no lack of love. And the love is not doled out according to any worth. It is given freely, and it is a teaching of learning to give love freely. I am Mary of Conception. I am seeking to open your heart, offering my love and guidance as your suffering world comes apart. Bring your pain like a flower to open. Bring your sorrow to place at my feet. Tears that are watering my garden in the river of Jordan will meet. Oh, my children, I seek your surrender. Both the path and the message are clear. My Saint John is walking beside you, holding your hand through this fear. Keep your strength as you seek to be humble. Let the power that guides you reveal all the blessings of my holy rapture, confirming you know what is real. This blessing is to truly bring your pain like a flower to open, to bring your sorrow, to place your sorrow at the feet of the divine, that you can truly disown, surrender the belief in sorrow, all the ways that you have held sorrow in this lifetime and in past lifetimes, and no longer willing to believe that that sorrow is the natural way, but that it was a bad dream of separation that produced all the sorrow, the belief of separation itself. All the healing is available. And it doesn't matter what it is that you may think that you carry or that you have lived through that seems impossible to heal. There is nothing that cannot be healed. Absolutely nothing, because everything that is requiring healing is not the truth. It's an illusion that has been held as reality. And all the divine beings are constantly bringing the teachings of love to reaffirm that you have done nothing, no one has done anything, and the nightmare can end. The nightmare can end now, because healing is yours, always. This prayer is a calling to declaring the love that is in your heart, not being timid about your love, and you're learning to offer that love, not being shy about expressing that love, to let your heart be filled with so much compassion and tenderness that it can't help but spill onto others, that you can't help but express that love. Not in order to prove how holy you are, but because it's who you are. It's what you are. You are that love. Here I am, Declaring the love within my heart, here I want to affirm the love of our Divine Mother, and remembering that I am forever to love. Here in the school of love, I have come to give thanks to all divine beings. Within the light of our Divine Mother, I am here forever to praise and never to aggrandize myself. I have been small with the size of love, but within this truth, within the light, I recognize this great love that is within. And I'm here to love with all beloveds, all of us going together and praising the truth of God. Here within this power, we must give thanks to our Divine Father and Mother, and to recognize that the healing that we are receiving is within the heart. And as the heart is healed, we are able to offer love and live in gratitude for that divine love itself. Eu aqui vou seguindo, declarando o amor dentro do meu coração. Eu aqui quero afirmar o amor de nossa Mãe, para sempre eu amar. Aqui, na escola do amor, eu venho agradecer a todos os seres divinos dentro da luz de nossa Mãe. Para sempre vou louvar e nunca me agradecer. Sou pequeno do tamanho do amor, para dentro desta luz. O grande amor é todo ser, amar, junto com os meus irmãos, todos nós seguindo juntos, e o Deus poder louvar. Aqui dentro do poder, devemos agradecer a nosso Pai, a nossa Mãe, as curas que vamos recebendo dentro do coração, amando e engrandecendo. Within this power of love, the gratitude of the heart bursts through. Dropping keys. The small man builds cages for everyone he knows, while the sage, who has to duck his head when the moon is low, keeps dropping keys all night long for the beautiful rowdy prisoners. So who is this small man that keeps building cages? It's the ego identity that believes that the knowing of the mind has validity and is determined to make themselves safe by building cages for everyone. Everyone is put into a cage of identity, knowing, and trusting that it's right. Thank God, the divine, who has to duck his head when the moon is low, keeps dropping keys all night long so that each beloved can come out of the cage, because the rowdy prisoners are wanting to be free. All through time, everyone has been building cages out of fear. But at some point, everyone has to come to, and will come to, the realization that all of that fear, all of building of all these cages to stay safe and to be in the belief of being in control, that it doesn't work, it's a lie, it has no purpose, and it's actually the cages themselves keep reinforcing that your fears are true and that your beliefs are true. But at the same time, when all these cages are built and everybody's in them through the roles that you've given to everybody, while everybody's in these roles and cages, it is extremely, if not impossible, to actually love. Because when fear is running, it doesn't leave any room for love. Now, love can break through the fear because the fear is the illusion. But for love to break through the fear is to ask for the strength of God, to ask for the power of God to intercede, to serve, to help. I had a vision many, many years ago of the Blessed Mother. And I could see the authenticity of this vision because it showed me something that I had no relationship to at all, which was that right behind the Divine Mother was a being that I could recognize as Saint Michael with a sword. And it took me by surprise, not just having the vision, but that I wasn't aware that Saint Michael was always serving the Divine Mother. And the relationship, as I was told, was that Saint Michael came and broke through the cages, the chains, the belief in imprisonment and limitation, so that the Divine Mother could comfort and bring healing as each beloved is removed from the beliefs of separation and limitation. Now, everyone that walks in the third dimension and believes in separation is also called to participate in that healing power. To counter the lies, and to recognize that every beloved has a choice, even though every beloved is not aware that they have a choice. Because when you believe that you are a victim of the world that you see, you're not aware, at least in that moment, that you have a choice. Because the victim identity takes over. And in that, you feel helpless, angry, resentful, suspicious, all different elements that come up with the belief that you are a victim. The victim identity is also used to retreat from the journey of love. It convinces, or tries to convince, that you don't have either the power within you or the worth to no longer see yourself as a victim. But love keeps calling you to join and to participate in your choosing love and choosing to step beyond your projections and your beliefs that have run lifetime after lifetime. I received a letter from a beloved who lives in England, and I felt called to speak to this, not only for this beloved, but for everyone, because when one beloved requests a teaching of some kind, it's a universal teaching that is being wanted. And the beauty of this too, of not only receiving this, but it's also to see that it doesn't matter where in the world the beliefs are. The beliefs are everywhere exactly the same. They don't change from country to country. They change a little bit from culture to culture. But the beliefs are the same. The beliefs that you are without and that life is a battleground, and that anger is justified, that things are dangerous. That's everywhere because of the belief of separation. So one of the correspondence that she sent me said, "There's a lot of anger that comes up with the domestic violence issue. So I realize I need to give this over more and more to the Holy Spirit." And in the original asking, it was around that issue, if you want to call it an issue, the domestic violence issue. But these issues are all the same. It doesn't matter what the name of them are. They're the belief that there is good and evil, and that there are victims, and that there are perpetrators, and that there is pain being inflicted. Now, in the world, that can seem extremely legitimate, but each beloved that is walking in those beliefs is not recognizing in any way the strength of the truth of who they are and how this can be healed. This beloved has held the belief very strongly that the way to combat this violence is through anger and is through battle. And that's what the world expects. That's what the ego agrees with, is that you combat all wrongdoing with anger and battle. But in truth, there is absolutely no healing there. all that it does is change little bits and pieces of righteousness, but nothing is healed. Because the beloveds who believe that they have the right to perpetrate with violence are believing themselves that they are unloved and separate from God. These are all agreements that are made. And the only way of this healing, and this is true for everybody, is that the only way to bring healing is to learn to love, to bring the truth of love to all conditions within the world. How is that possible to do? First of all, the power of your heart, the power of your mind can transform. Miracles are being called into the world by acceptance of the miracle. You cannot heal another through hatred. It's not possible. It's not possible to heal or to offer healing to anyone through resentment, through blame. It is only through love that anyone can actually heal. There's a beautiful teaching that I offered to this beloved that I wanted to bring to her and to this moment. I wrote to her that in the healing that I walked through the belief of violence, through the belief of torture and the unworthiness of love, the realization came that if I acted on anger and the belief in enemies, I was just still living in my own past and not able to bring any love or any truth to anything. All of that belief in the past of fear produced all thoughts that I was carrying and projected them out into the world to be the same belief. There is a teaching of Jesus that calls all beloveds to no longer believe in the righteousness of hatred. And this teaching, among so many teachings, says, the holiest of all spots on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. An ancient hatred can become a present love, and it must. In the world of healing, in the truth of love's healing, it is essential to see that the only thing that anyone is reacting to is actually their own projection of their own belief of pain and suffering, battle and hatred. Every beloved that is perpetrating in some way within the world, in the physical sense, believes their own mind of self-hatred, believes fully that their survival depends on trying to control their world. But everybody carries this in one degree or another. And just because some are more extreme than others, it doesn't change that it's all the same. Every judgment that every beloved carries, every assessment of someone else as less than the light of God is the same hatred. The ego would like you to believe that it's less. The ego would like you to believe that this is just an opinion. But to hold someone in a role, to put them in a cage, and to believe that the role that you have given them and the identity that you have given them is authentic, is the holding of hatred for all humanity. That's how powerful the mind is and the intention is. The only way for this beloved to heal is to recognize that her own anger and her own fears are coming from her own past, and that she keeps perpetuating that identity through seeing the world as a place of battle and not bringing love to those beloveds. Every master that has walked the earth, and including the beloveds who came as the symbolic extensions of that expression of love through Gandhi, through the Buddha, through Jesus, through Martin Luther King, through Mother Teresa, through dozens and dozens of quiet voices and quiet lives that bring healing, all recognize that the key ingredient was peace, that the key ingredient was love, and that nothing healed through battle, condemnation, hatred. Nothing healed. We've all held, I certainly held it. I held it strongly that I was righteous in my hatred, that I was righteous in my anger, and that I knew who the enemy was. And yet, in the healing of love, I had to take that leap of faith to heal all relationships that I had made in the name of separation. And in complete faith, surrender all of those beloveds back into the hands of God as innocent, and that they had done nothing. I had to bypass the evidence, the physical evidence, the evidence of memory. I had to surrender all that. And it was a complete leap of faith, because the ego was screaming, don't be a fool. Don't let your defense down. But love keeps calling, and this is all the way through the world. It doesn't matter where it is, it's all the same. The healing is all the same. And you have the power in your calling, the calling that brought you to spiritual teachings and the spiritual journey. That calling is a catalyst for this deep surrender. And it goes against the world's agreements for sure. It goes completely against it. It goes against the righteousness of building those cages. Because the belief is that if you build cages, you will be safe. But in truth, they become the imprisonment of your own identity. Everyone has to be set free and seen as the innocence of God and offered love, offered the truth. It doesn't matter what you believe that they've done. It doesn't matter what you believe in the world anyone has done. Forgiveness is the calling of the Divine Mother that calls everyone to the compassion of releasing all beloveds from the wheel of suffering of illusion. Every thought that is carried in the everyday life of irritation and upset, blame, figuring out what's wrong with everybody is a favorite pastime of the ego. You know, like it can be as entertaining as a movie to sit and let the mind go on mulling over all the seeming wrongs of everybody in the name of figuring them out. But the purpose of figuring out somebody is for protection. It's really to be able to defend in some way from your belief that they are the problem. One of the deepest teachings is to realize that there is no problem. Every single element within the belief of this third dimension, every single element that is not the truth of love and harmony, has been made through the belief of separation. Every problem is the belief of separation from God. There is no problem other than the belief of separation from God. And the belief of separation from God is not true. It's a fabrication of the belief of being a separate self. But you are not separate from God, and no one is separate from God. And as you bring that truth to all of humanity, humanity can heal. You are the miracle worker. You are the bringer of miracles in your own yes, that of the acceptance that there is no problem. How many times a day does anyone see through the lens of believing that there's a problem? Usually quite a few unconsciously. Problems like, I have to park too far from the entrance of wherever I'm supposed to be, or the problem is that it's going to rain and I have to go someplace, or the problem is that it's going to start getting dark earlier, or the problem, it's all of these little ways that we affirm that the world is filled with problems, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger. All of it's made up. There is no problem. And that takes faith to come into the heart and rest in the realization that there is absolutely nothing to defend, and everything is the opportunity of learning. That's all that it is. Each beloved that is involved in domestic violence is in the belief first of their unworthiness and their fear. Fear is completely running them, and the belief that they are unloved. Can the power of your love transform? Yes, it can. Absolutely. this life that was transformed through the power of love. And when you choose love and peace and harmony, really, like, I have to align with this. I have to stay firmly in this truth, because this is my freedom. And in that power, transformation occurs. Not because you've all of a sudden earned it, but because you've let go enough of the belief, of the fears and the resistance to inviting the power of love that transforms. It's one of the ego's favorite resistances, that I can do it myself. I'm in charge, I'm doing it myself. I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to do this. Instead of asking for help and for strength and for being able to see what is going to be most helpful. To have the inspiration come through your calling on the power of God to teach you in the moment what is most helpful. This is a schoolroom of love, of learning to love, of learning to pick up the keys and let yourself out of the cage that you've believed in. You may believe that somebody else put you in that cage, but in truth, we're volunteers in the belief of pain and suffering and the unworthiness of love. And the power of God is patiently waiting for the invitation of your yes. Love and the power of God cannot intrude where it's not invited. So the conscious journey of love is a relationship of invitation, that you keep inviting and saying yes to the power of healing, to the power of transformation, and to deny that there is a problem. Because the only problem is the belief of separation from God. And that isn't a problem, because you're not separate from God. Just because your perception says so and your past says so, I promise you that it isn't so. The past will disappear. The identity will disappear. And only the love will remain, because it's all that actually exists. And you can bring that power of love to all situations for all of humanity, because they're all the same. They're the pain, the belief of fear, the belief of suffering. That is not God's will for anything or anyone. It's a false belief. It's a nightmare that can end and will end through your yes. Accept the power of your love. Accept the power of your willingness that you can bring and serve transformation for all humanity. It's the strength of God made manifest. And each beloved is the master that is being called to live that truth. And to no longer believe in levels and degrees and differences with anyone or anything, or different levels of pain and suffering, that some have more and some have less. It's all, you're either in the recognition of love or you're in fear and the belief of separation. There are no degrees within that. But none of the belief of separation is true. None of it. And that's where all the healing is. Thank God we are not right as we walk in the world of the belief of separation. Thank God that everyone is mistaken in the belief of wrongdoing and the lack of love. It's a mistake. It's not true. You are the love of God. You are the love that is the existence of the universe, and everyone else is too. And you have the power to bring that love through your own healing to every beloved that you walk with and every beloved that you think of. Thank God. It was just a mistaken identity. And the acceptance of that mistaken identity is the healing. Your healing comes through the offering of love itself. As you open your heart and refuse to accept anyone as wrong or bad or condemned in any way, humanity heals. And everyone carries that power within them. Thank God.